and thank you, Sophia. It's a great pleasure to be here this morning. It is, well, this morning for me, this afternoon or this evening for you, maybe middle of the night for some. Here it's a little past 8, minus 4 degrees, sun is rising, and it's going to be a great day. So I'm looking forward to attending this virtual conference, and I commend EvalYouth in general, EvalYouth leadership in particular for organizing this event, the second of such event, and it's looking like it's going to be a great success again. So I've been asked to open the proceedings and to talk about what EvalAgenda 2020 means for individual evaluators. So I'm going to focus on the individuals, but first I'm going to set the stage for the rest of the day in terms of presenting to you what EvalAgenda 2020 is, and before that what EvalPartners is, so that you have a common basis for hearing the different speakers, and because the whole conference is organized around the structure of EvalAgenda 2020. Just a word on me first. I've been around for a long time. You can see that by the color of my hair. I've been an evaluator for more than 3 decades, so yes, you can survive this trade. I am unfortunately older than the average that Sophia mentioned earlier, but really happy to connect with the young and emerging evaluators wherever I can. Associative life in general, EvalPartners, IOCE, and for me, the Canadian Evaluation Society have been really important in my life, in my professional life, in my personal life. I think it's fundamentally important to get involved in associations, and I will actually end my short presentation with that message. So I've already told you what I will conclude, so you can see me getting there over the next few minutes. So what is, first point, what is EvalPartners, and where does it come from? This is kind of a complicated chart. Normally I present it stage by stage, but I will just throw it at you entirely in one shot today. The basis, the building block of all associative life in evaluation are the VOPEs, the Voluntary Organizations for Professional Evaluation. They are typically national organizations, national in scope, but they can also be subnational or supranational, as in regional. The VOPEs in 2003 got together, a number of them, to create the International Organization for Cooperation in Evaluation, which is a not-for-profit entity that groups VOPEs under one umbrella with the purpose of promoting evaluation through the VOPEs. The main activities of IOCE, other than taking part in EvalPartners, and as you can see from this chart, is to give back to the VOPEs through 2 main streams of activities: the VOPE Toolkit, which is an online compendium of resources that have been curated and are useful for helping VOPEs build their organizational life, and the Professionalization Task Force, which works on defining and setting a path towards professionalization for evaluation and evaluators. The IOCE, created in 2003, joined forces in 2012 with UNICEF, UN Women, and a number of other international partners to create EvalPartners. EvalPartners is an initiative, not an organization, that is aimed at supporting the production and use of evaluation, of quality evaluation around the world. Over the years, it has structured, and in 2015, 5 networks were created: EvalSDG, EvalYouth, that we're having the pleasure of being hosted by today, EvalGender Plus, EvalIndigenous, and the Global Parliamentarian Forum for Evaluation. Those 5 networks have a particular lens and area of interest, but they all work together towards the improvement of quality, production, and use of evaluation around the world. Of recent development since the spring, EvalPartners has been defining two new flagship programs. The one that is focused on national evaluation capacity building, and one that is focused on a promotion campaign around the topic of evidence matters. That is, actual knowledge about actual facts are important in public decision making. Those two flagships will structure our evaluation activity over the next 3 to 4 years for sure. They are very important and substantial programs that you will hear more about in the near future. On the left side of this page, you can see that EvalPartners exists because it has been funded by enlightened organizations and individuals who have seen that collective action is worth the investing in, both in terms of time and in terms of money. For the past 3 years, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Finland has been the main funder of EvalPartners, but we want to recognize that starting in 2018 and for the next 3 years, the Swiss Development Corporation is going to be a very important partner for EvalPartners and funding partner, that is. And for 2018, the U.S. Department of State is going to be an important funder as well. These organizations and the individuals behind them are some of the key partners, but everybody and every organization that is dedicated to evaluation is invited to join the overall umbrella of EvalPartners. EvalPartners is working on the basis of a, some call it a theory of change, a conceptual map that I would like to present to you now. It's a systematic and integrated approach to national evaluation capacity development. It's a way to understand national evaluation capacity development, which starts and is founded on individuals. Individuals form the basis for any dynamic. They're not alone, we'll see that, but they are a key building block. This concept structure that I'm presenting now is the foundation of the EvalAgenda 2020. That's why it's important for me to present it here. It's also was the inspiration for the structure of today's conference. So individual level, the individual level of this overall approach to national evaluation and capacity development means individual evaluators, individual users, individual decision makers who either supply or demand evaluation. The next level is the institutional level, because a system that does not work entirely and solely on the basis of individuals' actions. At the institutional level, particularly the VOPs, we'll get back to that in a moment, create an important dynamic in the system. The third level is the enabling environment. Even with the best intentioned individuals and institutions, for a given action to take place, the environment has to be supportive of it. And we'll see in a moment what is comprised in that enabling environment, but it is the overall context in which the individuals and the institutions can take action. And finally, these three levels of the system of national evaluation capacity work both in terms of the supply and the demand for evaluation. The supply of evaluation, meaning being able to produce evaluations of quality and in a timely manner, and the demand for evaluation, which means that individuals, institutions, and the enabling environment have to be supportive of the use of evaluation, have to be in demand for evaluation. The little note at the bottom of this chart is important as well. All of this dynamic is thought of and conceived of as country-led and country-specific. Country-led in that each countries have to take ownership of this dynamic, and country-specific because the context of each in each country is different, and the ability of each of the ingredients of this formula to actually take root and act they're different from country to country. So the Eval partners, while we're working on a global dynamic for evaluation development, supply and demand, we recognize that this is entirely taking place at the level of countries. Going back to the more specifics on each of the levels, the enabling environment is focused on, and this is all taken from the EvalAgenda 2020 document, by the way. So if you want to know more, if you want to read a lot of good text on this topic, you go to the EvalAgenda 2020 by accessing IOCE.net or evalpartners.org, and you'll be able to connect to that document, either in full form or in summary form. So the enabling environment is meant to ultimately increase evaluation use, and that is done through fostering an evaluation culture, supporting the creation of evaluation policies within countries, through the operation of evaluation systems and the allocation of sufficient resources for evaluation. These different avenues for action and requirements of the enabling environment lead to a number of strategic steps that can be taken in any one country in order to foster this enabling environment. So far, there's been attention given to evaluation policies, probably more so than in other aspects of this chart, but there's no question that all elements on this chart that are represented on this chart are important, and that evaluation policies are maybe the one tangible aspect, the most tangible aspect of that, and that it's easier to count evaluation policies than to count evaluation culture, but it is at least as important to foster these other elements in there, and you as an individual, and I'll get to that in a minute, have an important role to play in this dynamic. At the institutional level, the EvalAgenda 2020 again set the stage for a number of important actions, from developing knowledge products and sharing these knowledge products to networking amongst organizations, and certainly from country to country, to resource mobilization and management, and as you can see in the middle of this chart, but by the way, the VOPs are of particular importance in this dynamic, and that's the bubble on the left side, to encourage the formation of national voluntary societies, which are VOPs, and with a view to enhancing the capacity to create demand for evaluations. Remembering that the institutional level is both the demand and the supply side. The demand side being civil society demanding information evidence on the effectiveness and the raison d'être of the national investments in the form of various programs, and the supply side being the ability of the individuals in the system to produce but also use evaluations. The individual level is also comprised of a number of components. Starting from the left, and you will hear more about that during the day, the building individual capacities for evaluation is a core aspect at the individual level, ensuring that evaluators, young and emerging evaluators, have the capacities for producing quality evaluations. That also means, and that's the right side, or the right bubble, that there has to be an emphasis and energy given to creating and disseminating evaluation knowledge. So bottom bubble, that frameworks for evaluation quality and impartiality have to be developed. Once these three components are more or less in place, they interplay and they produce a number of additional and useful benefits. For example, the development of standards and competencies, the professional development into theory and practice, and the development of evidence-based mechanisms to identify capable evaluators, which have taken the form of credentialing or certification in different places. But what is of crucial importance is that ultimately what we want is that evaluation be recognized by the people outside of evaluation as a profession. We can and we should define our own role as that of a professional. We should define our practice as a profession, but it's even more important, once we have done that for ourselves, to then convince the world around us that evaluation is a profession and evaluators are professionals. And that takes us to a number of actions that you can take, or that you should consider, and that really fall on your lap in terms of what does the EvalAgenda 2020 mean to you as an individual evaluator. First of all, I've said that before and I'll say it again, everyone is responsible for their own fate. Yes, you're immersed in an environment, you are connected to various organizations, but you are responsible for your own fate. You should take charge of your own professional development, of your own professionalization, of your own reputation as a professional. Take charge of yourself. Don't wait for others to do that. And in fact, for all of you who are here today, you have clearly understood that message, because you are taking charge of your own fate by investing in professional development through today, taking most of what will probably be a very nice Saturday for you wherever you are, to focus on you as a professional. Second area is to advocate for evaluation. It is your responsibility as well, not only yours, but it is your responsibility as an evaluator and a professional in evaluation to advocate for evaluation, to spread the message around you, to connect with decision makers to the extent that you can within your networks, and we'll talk about networking later, but to develop the argument in terms of what is the purpose of evaluation, what need does it serve in your context, in your country, in your organizations, and to adapt that to your circumstance and to advocate. Number three, you must act as a professional of evaluation. EvalAgenda 2020 paves the way to the professionalization of evaluation. It recognizes how each national context will have to be the basis for the adaptation of the direction of professionalization in terms of means, in terms of path, and in terms of timing, but the end result that we are all aiming for is the same. We are aiming for a practice of evaluation that is based on current knowledge, current best practices, on the selection of the best approaches for a given issue and problem, on the implementation of evaluation in an ethical manners, and in a way that is justifiable through standards and competencies. We're aiming for that. how we're going to get there is going to be dependent on the countries, the national contexts, and the institutional context. Your responsibility is to do that for yourself and to act as a professional of evaluation wherever you are, whenever you're acting as an evaluator. Number 4 is that you have to build this significance of evaluation with others. You can't be alone in that. You have to connect with other evaluators. You also have to connect with the people that you want to influence in a way that they will participate in this journey towards production of quality evaluation and use of evaluation in the best possible manner for improving collective decision making. Connecting with others, working with others is absolutely fundamental, because you can't have as much impact alone as you will if you do it with others. The word significance here is important. You're building not only networking and connections, but you're building a common understanding of the importance of evaluation on the one hand, and of quality production of evaluations on the other hand, through a process of professionalization. You do build the significance with others. It's not simply building a what could be encapsulated in a book of best practices or in a set of standards. It's significance of the action that is crucial at this stage. And finally, my 5th message to you is invest yourself in your VOPE. Remember, VOPE, Voluntary Organization for Professional Evaluation, it's very likely that there is a VOPE in your country. 1/3 of you, we've seen with Sophia's introduction notes, 1/3 of you are already connected to your VOPE. That leaves 2/3 of you who are not members of your VOPE. If you don't know if there is a VOPE, there likely is one, and how to connect with them, I suggest that you go to ioce.org and search for the VOPE directory. There is an easily searchable list of VOPEs. I think that, okay, well, Jim Rue will correct me when he makes his presentation. Upwards of 150 VOPEs are listed in that directory. So get in there, search for your national VOPE. You'll find the names and email addresses of individuals who are in leadership positions in that VOPE. You may find a website address, and then document yourself and get involved. First of all, become a member, and second of all, invest yourself in your VOPE. Volunteer for your VOPE. Run for a position on the board. Volunteer in terms of organizing events, in terms of simply being there for events. And not only will that benefit you in particular, it will also support your VOPE by increasing numbers of members, which is important, but also because you're going to bring new ideas to your VOPE. You're going to bring a fresh outlook on the world and a fresh look on evaluation. So this 5th direction that I suggest you could take is really fundamental. It's the initial building block and probably the easiest step of these 5 steps. Invest yourself in your VOPE and take charge of your own fate are the 2 strategic directions that I suggest that you reflect on through today, but also in the next few weeks. And finally, last chart and last page and last minute of this speak. This chart is taken from EvalAgenda 2020 again, and it shows that these same elements that I've been talking about in the last few minutes, the 3 levels, the enabling environment, the individual capacities, and the institutional capacities, which form the core, the center of this chart, they all work together. they're connected, and each of the different actions and directions that are associated with them here color-coded according to which of the three main themes of the EvalAgenda 2020 they are connected to. They all work together. They're not a hierarchical tree. They're not a sequence. They work together. So we have to think of this in a systemic manner, and we have to analyze the environment that we're on, you, me, everybody, based on these different ingredients taken together. So, Sophia, that's the end of my introduction, and I will be glad to consider any question. I have not read them as they flow on the right side of my screen. So if you, Sophia, want to address any one of them to me, please do so.